Hello. This is Shiva and Jonathan alias the Matrixers again. Yes, Shiva, something is different about you. Why? I don't know. I think I've got a board in front of my head. Yes, Shiva, then it's about time that you somehow saw the light. Wow. Exact. A striking realization came to me. We would like to share that with you. And best of all, I think I'd like to read them. Largely. Of course, we will also talk a bit about it. But to keep that experience as genuine as possible, I think I'll just read it out first. Yes, a good idea. So Shiva has already told me about the knowledge she had, and it was really very interesting and certainly exciting for many of you to listen to what Shiva experienced. Exactly. Namely, the headline reads, "There is nothing real but love." In my state, which I would like to describe in a moment, I got an overview of the whole as it really is. This experience and knowledge will certainly meet and continue to encounter incomprehension among some, since it is difficult to understand if you have not seen it yourself. But I think it's important for as many people as possible to know about it, so they can at least get a clue as to what they're really looking for. And of course, to make more holes in the matrix. And to search for this knowledge is actually the only thing that people and all living beings actually strive for. And I want to explain to you why that is. Exactly. As the title suggests, nothing really exists but love. In my condition, I had to go through the fear. There's really no way to describe this fear. It was so enormous, so crass. It doesn't compare to any other experience. It was that extreme. Not even in my near-death experience have I felt such fear. Actually, I didn't feel any at all. Exact. And I had no choice. I had to go through this fear. I couldn't go back and I couldn't push her aside either. The only thing that has stayed with me is that I just had to go through this fear. And the moment when I had passed this fear, when I was walked through, that is certainly the most indescribable moment that one can experience and experience. Because behind this fear you can see that first of all this fear does not exist, and that behind the fear there is simply nothing at all, absolutely nothing but love. And you suddenly realize that when you look behind all facets, behind all camouflage, nothing exists. Not the fear, not the anger, nothing, just pure, unconditional, eternal love. And from this love, which contains nothing, but is everything, everything is created. And the crazy thing is that humans and all beings are always looking for love. They strive, they crave, they seek love. And the funny thing is, it's just in everything, in the finger, in the table, in every action, in everything you do, it's actually all pure love. It's contained in anger, in a cigarette, and when you take out the trash. It is in all that exists, and for love is existence itself. You can use these words almost synonymously somehow. And why does everyone strive for love? Why don't people feel them? Why strive for something that is everywhere? Because they are camouflage. For example, people within the matrix are here to disconnect from love and get back to where you've always been, in love. We wanted to experience what it feels like to be apart. This fear that I felt so intensely in the beginning. The fear of being alone, the fear of separateness. And beyond the fear of separateness one realizes that nothing is really separate, that all is oneness, and that love is that oneness that we have intentionally separated from. This is the game within our matrix. We wanted this separation to experience what it's like to be cut off from the existence of love. And the crazy thing about it is that it's always there, in every movement we make. We cannot even move a finger without it being done through the sheer unconditional love of existence. We search so much for love and don't realize that it is in everything we do, create, experience and feel, and that we were never separate from it. And what's even crazier is that every single one of you knows that. You all know that everyone knows that we are absolute, pure love. And yet we camouflage them. We all act like we don't know. I was in such a state that I realized I was not lacking. I felt absolutely whole. Love has never been lacking. There wasn't even a tiny part of me missing. I have always been wholeness, and here on earth I only pretend I am not. I'm basically just pretending I'm Shiva and you're Jonathan. And in reality we know that we are not. Exactly. And we pretend that wholeness is something to strive for. But that's not true, because we are already the true. You just have to stop pretending like you're not. And then I showed myself what the key is. And the key is always there. Because he is in me. I've shown myself that the key is just always there. It's me because I am love. The key is always my heart. Because wholeness, the soul, is what you feel in your heart. And it is pure, unconditional love. We really should stop pretending we don't know. In that state I was conversing, and I was conversing with the wholeness of that person. And she knew that very well. She knew exactly who she really was and what the key is. And yet we denied it, and so did the people. They deny it. And then I asked all that yes L again. But you know that, don't you? He then said the question, and then I asked myself, he's going to charm me. I'm just talking to him. He knows that. He knows everything. But no, in everyday life you don't know that, because at the same time I not only talk to everyday life myself but also to the whole of this person, who just knew everything. Yes. What's even crazier than camouflage love is that we actually want to. In our wholeness we want to camouflage love in order to feel. This is the game within the matrix. And it's a wonderful, special, and really, really precious thing. If I felt, it's hard to find anywhere else in the universe. Because on earth one has the possibility to feel and sense and touch. And yes, I didn't get the impression that it was particularly widespread, except in this game of ours that we're playing here. And I felt that this feeling is as valuable for us beings, i.e., for this wholeness that we are, as a diamond is for a person, for example, or a mother's own child or something. We are all here to feel what it is like to be angry, to feel when we touch, love, hate, despise or feel affection for another. Speak, when we operate within our beloved ego. That's what the ego is for. The ego is there to camouflage love. When we are in the ego we cannot feel that love. And that's exactly what we don't want, because we're here to feel and experience everything else. And I can say, enjoy these moments of feeling, enjoy life as long as you want, and then you can move on. Yes, if you stop, camouflage yourself. So then when you talk, when you pretend, when you stop pretending you don't know a thing about this, and that you didn't know that everything is love. And when you stop pretending you're your ego. Of course, that doesn't happen all at once, even if you had the knowledge. But the moment it happens, you can feel the mountains. You can feel them and afterwards and see that, for example, it doesn't even exist in the first place. But more on that in a moment. Because when you stop pretending you don't know anything, the real memories come back. And the memory of the true self. Everyone acts like they are what they are. I pretend to be Shiva who likes to drink coffee, read books, and tell you about the Matrix. But all of this is just pretending. It is an expression of pure love. In my everyday life I did not recognize this. I had a board in front of my head. I thought I was reading. I thought I was drinking coffee and I was talking to you. We're just pretending to smoke a cigarette. In fact, we don't smoke. We express pure love. And it is also our intention to pretend. Because otherwise we couldn't play the game, couldn't experience and feel what it's like to be human. It's all intentional. Wholeness, the true self, is the intention. It's synonymous. Exactly. Carlos Castaneda actually uses intention. It's not my word or anything since the Don Juan is talking to the Carlos Castaneda. Yes, but he said yes. Exactly, he says so. It's the intention. Because everything is intentional. Exactly. And there is absolutely nothing that you don't do on purpose. Overall, you can see that everything is planned. Everything is wanted. It's a will to be here on earth. It's a will to give someone flowers on purpose. It's a will to raise your hand and take the coffee cup on purpose. Yes, it's even a will, and that's going to be by now for sure encounter criticism when two wholes conspire to play murder and manslaughter. And the crazy thing is, this action is also pure love. I've seen it all and it's just indescribably beautiful. The wholeness of self wants to know what it's like to be raped, killed and tortured. And that's exactly what happened to me in a previous life. And yet exactly this action is all pure love, because it would not be possible to play without the love of the other, who wants to help you to experience exactly that. Yes, everything is always, nobody fights anyone else. I saw the intergalactic war. And who is fighting who? Did you ask me then? Nobody fights anyone. Yes, they all, no. One fights against the other. It's just collusion between these souls pretending. As if we're going to fight each other now. That's what they play. And when the game is over, you just love each other again. You gave me another nice example. Those computer simulations, those two games, those arcades. Can you tell me again, that wasn't bad? Well, you're getting into some first-person shooter game. Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, it's like with these first-person shooters. For example, that two people play together, but fight each other within the game. And then when one loses and the other wins, stop playing and we'll go have a beer together. Exactly. Because it's a simple example. Fits really well. Yes, and once you realize just that everything is done with the purest of intentions, and everything is a deal, and that deal is done with the purest love, to experience, you can take full responsibility for everything you do, for every action. Of course, it's difficult to take responsibility for your life when you think, where does all this come from? Why is this happening to me? You just feel like a victim of the situation and the other person, that's the perpetrator. But victims and perpetrators do not exist, because everything is an intention and an agreement between the wholes. And that's out of pure love. There's really just nothing else. And that is very impressive. And now what about the love everyone is striving for? They are striving for something, even though they are and are imbued with it. In every atom that exists because they see each other back to unity. They long to undo the separation. And yet each individual wants to experience the separation. In wholeness one sees that nothing is separate and that all actions are intentional. We don't want to help but pretend that we don't have a clue about any of this. But we have. We know very well. We know very well what the key is. How would we get all the memories back, and how would we get the state of wholeness back, and how would we get back into that state of oneness, into pure love? We know all this and we pretend. No idea. And I saw that. That was very, very funny. When you are angry, you should realize that now the ego is there. But the ego itself simply does not exist. We just pretend it exists so we can experience what it means to be angry. But when we stop pretending to be angry or jealous, when we just drop the cover, we will find that there is nothing behind it but love. We strive so much for love and don't see that nothing else exists but love because we pretend love doesn't exist. We pretend we're in love. After death we go into the light and their loving light welcomes us. This love light is a frequency, a beautiful, high-frequency frequency that reminds us of something, of true love, the love of being, of what we are really striving for, where we want to get back to. Of course, the matrix builders know this, and it is therefore clear that this light, the love frequency, which of course should not be confused with true love, which is eternal being, should not be confused. And they use it just because it radiates love, a high vibrating frequency. And this frequency evokes the memory of the true state of being. And that's why we all follow the light and fall into the trap. And the crazy thing is, as cruel as it sounds, even the trap is pure love. It sounds contradictory, but the contradiction does not exist. In summary, there is nothing but love. The wholeness of the true self is the intention that always and willingly does and creates. There is nothing in this universe that does not happen out of this intention and out of this will. From this intention, and from wanting everything, you see that you are responsible for everything you do. Because not a single action occurred by mistake or by chance. This shows that there are no victims and no perpetrators. There is only the intention and the agreement between these two intentions. For the wholes, the souls, yes. Authenticity. Yes, you can see it however you want. You can. And when you see that everything we do is intentional and know that we do everything on purpose, either everything is authentic or nothing. Because on the one hand we know that we create everything and that it is also an illusion. But we create out of love. And on the other hand, we're just pretending to be them, for example. But when you know it's on purpose, you know you're angry on purpose. And if you live this anger intentionally, then it is authentic because we are just playing or creating. But if we know that, one can love oneself. And I think I chose the position of authenticity. Authenticity. Because even if it's all a game, it's one that we wanted. We wanted to create ourselves that way. Why not live it like that? Yes, our little universe and the game in the matrix is about feeling. It is so important and so valuable as I have seen. Everything is wonderful and valuable. Everything is feeling. You should just enjoy this feeling. Because that feeling will never come back. One should really feel as intensely as possible. One should feel the sadness and enjoy it. Because we are human and only we humans can feel that way. Nobody else. And afterwards, you can also look behind the radiation, see and recognize that we are lying to ourselves. That this grief is wanted, but not with the true state of being of love, so that it doesn't correspond to it at all. When you stop pretending to be sad after feeling whole, you look beyond the sadness and you will find that only love is there. If you look behind the camouflage, you'll find that you've been love all along, that you've been pretending all along, pretending not to know. And that the key to love and all memories and wholeness was always there, within you, right where the heart is. The key is love, and the way to get there is to break the cover, that is, to give up pretending to be ignorant. And if, for example, someone hits you, then you are angry with the person or hate them. It is a possibility. It's actually just an agreement between the two of you because I wanted to know something. And that agreement is pure love. Yet your everyday selves pretend not to know that this act was pure love. Everyone thinks if I'm loving someone, it's love. But there is not the slightest difference between being loving and hitting someone. Both are the same. It's both love. In this sense, there's no reality either, because everything is the same, everything is love. There is no, this deed is good or this deed is bad. Every action that happens is love and love is unity. She is harmony. She is not polar. The polar opposite of fear, as I feel it now, is what is called love here on earth, but it is not really love. This love, while I'm not saying that all humans feel is this love frequency that I was talking about earlier in the light trap. That is polarized love, a love frequency, and the frequency is polar because it is an oscillation. And a vibration is a wave, has a high and a low point, and so in this case the polar counterpart to fear is this love frequency, which is also emitted by the light trap. But love is eternal. Love, that's not a frequency, it just is. It's just there, it's eternal and it's constant. We take everything far too important and far too seriously. This is of course a prerequisite for us to be able to play the game properly. But once we look behind the camouflage and see through the game, that is, realize that we are all just playing together, then it becomes difficult to take it all very seriously and importantly. Yes, and what I've also seen is that everything is fractal and everything repeats itself, from the smallest to the largest. On Earth we think it's our job to find our true selves. But actually we already are. We think we have to dissolve the matrix and prevent intergalactic wars, that this is our task on Earth now. But the higher you get, the higher the task. But all tasks are actually just a camouflage, an illusion. They are games that go from the smallest to the largest. And when we stop playing, Then we just are. But that's no fun either. Another thing I got to see is that we are truly creator gods. Not only that everything is intentional, i.e., from the whole, or happens intentionally, and of course we all create our reality in every moment, but we actually create galaxies and universes. And that's what I did eons ago. I could observe how I just created galaxies. I have seen that the creation of the universe has existed for the third time. At least it feels like the universe has already been created and decreated 3 times. That means we're basically about 45 billion years old. If it's true that the universe is 50 billion years old, then maybe it would be 45. In any case, the creation has taken place at least 3 times from what I've seen. And what has to be said, we all believe we are trapped in the matrix. But that is not true. We are free. We're totally outdoors. We were never trapped. We're just pretending we're trapped inside the body, inside the matrix. Basically, there is no bondage. We are and always have been free. Yeah, we just gotta stop pretending we're trapped. And what's really exciting is that everything flows together in a single instant. The billions of years of all experiences that have ever existed exist, and they all exist in a single instant. I saw that. It was very impressive. The moment I wrote this or consciously read it out loud, I created universes, loved, hated, killed, waged wars. I was a saint and a traitor, and I drank coffee. And that makes this one moment that contains everything really incredibly valuable. In conclusion, yes, there is nothing but love. And everything is created from it. In this state, one does not strive for love. You don't chase it. You don't want to experience it, because you are love. She was always there. We strive for it and pretend that it isn't, and do everything to achieve love. All we would have to do is break the camouflage and see that we are love and everything is love. On that note, good morning and wake up. Yeah. So that was the realization you had that was the realization I had. And yes, of course I now listen to what you said, what you experienced there, and it was very exciting. And I've seen a lot of those things before. But I think that many viewers also have a question. Maybe one or the other. For example, the question. Yes, even if murder and manslaughter happen out of love, then I can actually kill anyone. Now someone who enjoys it could justify themselves about it. Yes, but even this justification would only be a camouflage. Yes, that's clear. In any case, that's camouflage again, because you don't want to look behind. And also with the light. I don't know if that came out so clearly when I read it. You just spoke about high-frequency love and eternal love. And that's where you make a difference. Exactly, because the other is not a frequency for me, because it is just something constant that is always and everywhere. The other thing, Monroe was kind of right about his lush or something. He calls these high love frequencies lush. Yes, maybe everything on earth called love should be called lush. No idea. So the love within the matrix could be thought of as lush, or the humans as lush producers creating this high frequency love, but which is part of dualistic love. For me it is. As I saw it. I would say so too, but that doesn't mean that you can actually reach the state of true love here within the matrix. You just have to give up the yes. Ah yeah, and what I was still wondering, or what I'm sure someone could ask, would be if you said that every human being somehow camouflages love. Why should one camouflage love? I mean, love is a nice feeling. It's a great thing. Why hide that from anyone else? So that might be a question. Well, because we wanted to experience the separateness. So that means love. You can do that. We come from love. And in this game, the Matrix game, it is possible not to feel this love. You can feel what it's like to be kinda angry and not in love. And I think that's the only reason, or at least that's the reason I've seen, that you feel separate, cut off from unity, from source, to individual existence. And one danger that one could perhaps see there would be that a person dies and then wants to choose the third way of the matrix through the loopholes and then suddenly sees this loving light and then thinks that's the love from which Shiva said I have to go there. I told you it's not. No, no, the light trap, it just emits this love frequency. But it is not pure, eternal love. It is to me, as I saw it, a reminder of who we really are and where we really want to go back to. But that's not the case for me, and one shouldn't confuse them. So you could say there are two kinds of love. Can you say that? Yes. So you could almost say the high frequency, artificial love, right? Well, what does artificial mean? It was created, its frequencies. Everything that is created is just like that. Artificially. Now not in the sense of AI. Yes, exactly, but artificial like a work of art, you could say. We are also artificial. The body is also artificial. Yes, so okay, and the other love that you are now talking about is the eternal love that exists everywhere. Yes, and the only thing that really exists. And within the matrix it's just hidden. Exactly. Camouflage, so that you can indulge in the dualistic games. Exactly. Okay, I think a lot of people may have understood it better now. Yes, thank you for the knowledge you had there. And how did you get that knowledge in the first place? I mean, did you see that in 3 minutes? Or in 5 hours? Or you also said that you saw the universe, traveled through it and stuff like that. So, I think I've traveled back and forth in the universe 20 times and it's kind of past 10 minutes and it felt like 45 billion years. But I think the whole thing somehow took a few hours. When I'm through with the lucid states. Yes, Shiva. Then, we thank you very much for letting us share your knowledge. And when did you have the realization? A few days or exactly 2 or 3 days ago. Ah yes, great, nice, yes. Then we hope for many comments on what you think about it and how you took it. I still have to think about whether I need to reduce the speed of the audio track by 50%. But I have to say, it's great what you've experienced there and it's very impressive. That was it, and let's see what kind of comments come up and how they find it. And thank you for sharing your insight. And thank you for watching and what I read to you. You can also do in the posts on matrixer.com. Read. You can read it again there, exactly. Excellent. Exactly. Then do well. Take care. Bye. A beautiful evening.